welcome to Bonita's Kitchen and thank you for joining us. What I'm going to be making for you today is double chocolate cake. Of course, this double chocolate cake is made straight from scratch and it's got lots of really rich ingredients in there with spices, cinnamon, nutmeg. We got some brown sugar, chocolate chips, cocoa. I'll tell you all the ingredients as we go, and what we'll do first is get started with creaming the butter and sugar together. If you love chocolate, you'll love this recipe. It's an easy recipe, one that I love making. It's got a half a cup of butter, room temperature, and a half a cup of brown sugar. So you put that in together and get creaming it. So you just cream the brown sugar and butter together. You don't have to be particular because, like you said, when all these ingredients get in together, it'll all work out nice. And there's going to be a teaspoonful of vanilla. Mix that in there. I'm going to be using 2 large eggs, so break them into a measuring cup or into a bowl, just in case you get a couple of shells in there. And just lightly mix this together, and then we're going to mix it with our 3/4 of a cup of evaporated milk. Just pour it right on in and mix it. So that's the 2 large eggs beaten together in with 3/4 of a cup of evaporated milk. If you don't have evaporated milk or you wish to use a cream or a 2% milk, that's fine. So you're just going to blend this in a little, and now what we're going to do is sift in all of our dry ingredients, and I'll tell you what those are. So before we get started on our dry ingredients, which that is one of the next steps, we got a 1/4 cup of warm water, and I got a half teaspoonful of instant coffee. If you don't have instant coffee, you could use regular perked coffee, but it'll be about a 1/4 cup, and it don't need to be warmed in. When you're using instant coffee, you need to have a warm water to break down that coffee, and this helps bring out that chocolate flavor a little bit more. So just put it in, stir it lightly, and then pour it right into with the liquid. So just lightly stir that coffee in there. Again, if you don't have instant coffee with warm water, you could use perked coffee, just a 1/4 a cup, and it don't need to be warm then. Only warm if you got instant, because you need to break it down. So that's 2 cups of flour, 4 tablespoonfuls of cocoa, and we're going to be using 2 teaspoonfuls of baking powder. So this is all of our dry ingredients. We're going to be using half a teaspoonful of cinnamon, ground cinnamon, half a teaspoonful of nutmeg, and a half a teaspoonful of sea salt. So what we're going to do here now, I don't think I got anything else there, we're going to sift all of this into our wet ingredients. So continue sifting like this until all of it is out into your bowl. Same thing, just coast it along, because sometimes your cocoa can get a little lumpy. There you go. That's all you need to do with that. So we're going to stir all of our dry ingredients together with the wet. We're also going to be adding in here now a half a cup of unsweetened chocolate chips. So there's quite a bit of chocolate going into this with the chocolate chips and the cocoa and the coffee. Like I was saying, when you add coffee into any sort of a chocolate base, it just really brings out those flavors. So like I said, you're not using a lot, but just enough to help that. So just mix all of this together now until you get a nice batter. pretty much that's all you need to do with that then, is just fold all of those dry ingredients in, and it'll look something like this. So what you need to do next is, you can use a square pan, you could use a spring release pan, or one of your choice. Grease it lightly with a bit of butter. I always try to put a little bit of parchment paper in the bottom, just in case my cake decides to burn a little, which nobody wants that. Then you're just going to take all of this delicious, rich, chocolatey batter and pour it directly into your pan. And take it all into the pan, and then what you can't get with your spoon there, just get a spatula and take all of the rest of the chocolate batter and put in there. So after, you're going to spread the dough, the batter, out evenly into the pan, and then take any extra off and put in there. So what we will be doing now is putting our cake into a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes, or until you can see that it's risen nice, and if you put a toothpick or a knife in through, it'll come out clean. And it shouldn't take any longer than that, but depending on your oven and the equal heat, that's about all you would need. Take it out and let it rest, and what I'm going to do while it's baking, I'm going to show you how to make your frosting. So what we're going to do now is make our frosting while we're waiting for our chocolate cake to bake. It's just whipping cream, 250 mils, cold, keep in the fridge until you're ready to use it, or on some ice if you want to put that there. But just pour it all into your bowl, and I'm going to get whipping this up first, and then I'll tell you the next step. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoonfuls of cocoa and a cup of icing sugar. I'm just going to mix this around. I'm just going to stir it first because I don't want it to puff over my camera, and then just mix it all in through. And that's all we need to do. Okay, so after you finish mixing that together, you can put it in the fridge then until you're ready to use it, which would be after your cake is baked and when it's cool enough to spread it over, because you don't want for it to melt, of course. So meet me back here when our cake is baked, and I'll show you what the next step is. Welcome back to Bonita's Kitchen, and our double chocolate cake is baked and it's nice and moist. And what I'm going to do now is just cut a little bit around the edges to release it from the sides, and then we'll pop it out into this platter and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I let it rest for just a few minutes, if you can, until it's a little cool. You don't need to be taking it out when it's piping hot, but it doesn't matter. And this is the parchment paper at the bottom. It's nice and clean, as you can see. I'm going to flip it the other way now, so bear with me. Okay, so I got it flipped over, and I put it up on this platter. So what I'm going to do here now is let this cool down just a little tiny bit more so I can put the frosting over it. And then after, when we frost the top of the cake with that delicious whipped cream and icing sugar, I'm going to melt down some chocolate chips in my measuring cup, and then mix into it some, after it's melted, mix in some vanilla and some evaporated milk, and I'll tell you how much of each one of that. Stir it up, and then that's going to go over the top of the whipped cream. So you're going to see that this cake is going to be hard to resist. So just see what it looks like when it's cooled a bit. Okay, now that our place smells absolutely delicious here now, what we're going to do, we're going to put the frosting over our cake, and then I'll show you what the next step is. So let's get going. Okay, so we're going to put some nice helpings over the top. So you don't have to be particular with your frosting unless you want to be particular with your frosting. And just spread it all over. And then I'm going to take a cup of chocolate chips, unsweetened chocolate chips, because like I said, not a lot of sugar in this cake, and frosting of course is just icing sugar, so you know it's not too sweet at all. I'm going to melt the unsweetened chocolate chips, and then I'll show you what we'll do next. Okay, so that's 1 cup of chocolate chips, unsweetened chocolate chips, melted 2 minutes. A tablespoonful of milk, evaporated milk or regular milk, and a teaspoonful of vanilla. And stir that in with your chocolate chips as well until it's all combined. Okay, so this is where the fun part comes in, because what we're going to be doing, we're just going to be taking little bits of our chocolate and just dropping it down onto the whip like this. No fanciness, just let it fall onto it to make nice little chunks. You go around, you do that until you used up all your chocolate or until you're satisfied with what you got there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut off a nice chunk of this cake. As you can see, it's not fancy, but it is so tasty. I mean, I can't brag about this cake enough. Like you said, the most sweetness to it is just the half a cup of sugar, brown sugar that we put into it. So this is what it looks like inside. This is your chocolate. I put a little bit of chocolate on the plate with it. What goes good with chocolate cake is a nice cup of mint tea. So now I'm going to taste the cake and let you know what it tastes like. Okay, I'm saying this is how quick and easy it is to make this double chocolate cake, but I think I went a little bit overboard with the chocolate. I put a little bit of extra, but it's double chocolate cake. I'm going to have a little taste. You can see how nice and moist it is. So delicious, not sweet at all. Perfect. That was good. Like I said, mint and chocolate together. Perfect. So I hope you found this episode of Bonita's Kitchen for double chocolate cake helpful for you today. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and you'll get more recipes like this. Each time I post it, we will send you a notification letting you know. Just hit the link, subscribe at the top right hand corner. It'll prompt you to what you need to do. You can also visit me on Facebook and on Bonita's Kitchen, www.bonitaskitchen.com. Thank you for joining me once again for Bonita's Kitchen. From my kitchen to yours, you have a wonderful day.